investigative journalist, Wayne Madsen, author as well, best-selling author, formerly with Naval Anti-Submarine Warfare before he was then in the National Security Agency before rising to one of the heads of the major internal security operations. I want to get his take first on William Binney, who was almost last week, but did another interview on, I think, what is it, WABC in New York, with Aaron Klein, and saying, look, the NSA already has all the metadata, all the tracking. They know the IP addresses. They already have her emails. Binney is on tomorrow also live with us to elaborate on this. What does he think WikiLeaks is getting ready to release? The word is it's going to be the fact that Hillary was directing with the Turkish ambassador what we already knew from our military sources, the weapons to al-Qaeda, that she had the name changed to ISIS to confuse the public. But then that ties into our next story. Exclusive, Khazir Khan founded Islamic Journal to defend Sharia law. This is on drudgereport.com. Khan defends Sharia law responsible for executions of gays and women in 11 countries. You say gays for what? Just being gay. Women talking back. Or if men rape you, they can then execute you. I mean, this is fruitcake land. And then, of course, he didn't attack Gold Star families or the people that have died in war. He said, why is this woman on TV not talking? That's a real statement. This guy's a Sharia law expert who founded a journal to promote it in the West. But CNN says he's not, so we're going to cover the waterfront. That dovetails with this article on Infowars.com. France, water park to hold Burkini Day, close quote, non-Muslim swimming attire banned. So it's on, folks, and those are not Teletubbies you see on screen. Look, I'm a real liberal, okay? Classical liberal. I get offended by this. The bullying, you know, the latest stabbing attack, Allah Akbar, the Islamic mayor saying, you know, deal with it. Wow. Wayne Madsen, thank you for joining us. I kind of set the table there with a bunch of different points. So where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, I listened to Mr. Khan's speech in Philadelphia, and I have to say it did initially pull at everybody's heartstrings. You could have heard a pin drop, obviously, during his speech. But like everything that they parade out, every individual you've never heard before, there's always a backstory. And of course, with Khazir Khan, there's a backstory. And the fact is, he's a co-founder of an academic journal that was basically trying to sell Sharia law in systems that practice Western jurisprudence based on Roman law and English common law. And frankly, there is no place for Sharia law in Western legal systems. It's a practice that comes out of the 11th century, and for anyone to advance the idea that Western jurisprudence can coexist with Sharia law is really out there where the buses don't run.
Well, let's talk about this journal. Let's get into your detailed report.
Yeah, he co-founded this journal. The other co-founder was an individual who ran an Islamic Law Center in Geneva, Switzerland, who has been tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, this, again, is very suspicious because we know that Hillary Clinton's close aide, Huma Abedin, her mother, who teaches a college at an all-women's college, by the way, in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I haven't heard Hillary Clinton complain about that sort of sexism. This individual who was co-founded the journal with Khazir Khan, member of the Muslim Brotherhood, and Huma Abedin's mother has been accused of having links to the Muslim Brotherhood. So what is with all these Muslim Brotherhood connections to the Hillary Clinton campaign? Obviously, the campaign found Khazir Khan somehow. I also pointed out that his law office in New York is next door to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And on the top of that hotel is found the residence of the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, who was also married to Cass Sunstein, Obama's former information czar, and the guy that said you defeat your enemies by practicing cognitive dissonance. And it looks like the Khazir Khan episode is nothing more than an operation in cognitive dissonance as perfected by Cass Sunstein.
Well, I know people have dug into his journals, but specifically I mean, he's promoting strict adherence to Sharia, which under that, if you're found to be homosexual, they murder you.
Oh, everything. And if you're a Muslim who converts to another religion, not just Christianity, say Buddhism or Scientology or anything, the penalty is death. So how can a legal system like that coexist in Western systems? It's not possible. And for Khan to suggest it can, he's being academically dishonest.
Of course, he's being disingenuous to the max. Well, obviously, he's brought here in the 80s. He's a perfect cutout. He's hooked in with all these other groups that supply legal help to overstay visas. I mean, this guy is just classic, in my view, he has all the signs of being one of these worldwide Islamist operatives.
Yeah, and the other thing is, he's a member of the New York Bar, which would explain him having an office in New York City, although he lives in Charlottesville, Virginia with his wife. Now, Charlottesville is a sanctuary city. It's the home of the University of Virginia, but he's not a member of the Virginia Bar. And when I suggested that he may be providing legal assistance to students at UVA who overstay their student visas and want to become permanent residents by gaming the system, I would note that apparently right after I put this report out, the website for his law firm was taken down. So who knows why that decision was made, but it may be that there was information on there telling people who are illegally in the United States.
Well, we better go to the Wayback Machine right now.
Yeah, H-1B visa holders and student visa holders, how to game the system. I would also note that Virginia, 7 of the hijackers on 9/11 had Virginia driver's licenses. So Virginia is a hotbed for this kind of gaming of the U.S. immigration system.
Well, we're all very sad for his son, but again, we wouldn't have all these Islamists here and all these cutouts. We wouldn't have had 9/11 to begin with. We wouldn't have been in Iraq. That Saudi Arabia directed our government to attack the country that wasn't involved. I mean, that's just so clear. This was done for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia stood to gain from all of this, and you had the Bushes meeting that morning of 9/11 at the Carlyle Group function, The Guardian reported, there in D.C. at the bin Laden family table.
Right. I would also point out something else about Captain Humayun Khan, his son that was killed in combat in Bakuba, Iraq in 2004. Present at his funeral at Arlington National Cemetery was Mohammed Sadek, who was the deputy chief of mission of the Pakistani embassy in D.C. Now, capitals like D.C., London, Moscow, Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, normally the DCM is the head of intelligence. In this case, that would have been Pakistan's ISI. And because ISI was basically founded by the CIA, they would follow the CIA's traditions of the DCM in those capitals being an intelligence official, the chief of station. What in the world was the head of ISI intelligence doing at Captain Humayun Khan's funeral at Arlington? Later, he surfaces back in Islamabad in 2008, justifying or basically defending the ISI against charges from India that the ISI participated in the bombing of the Indian embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. Very dodgy links here. Pakistan was not a member of the coalition in Iraq. So what in the world was Captain Humayun Khan?
This is a very shady grouping. It needs to be investigated. Shifting gears, Wayne, as a journalist, looking at the media, just keep saying, the word is Trump's going to resign. Trump goes, no, I'm not. Yeah, you are. This is just what we saw with Ben Carson in Iowa when he gets on an airplane, flies out at 5:30 in the afternoon. He's in second place. They announced, Ted Cruz does, that, he's stepping down. He's resigning. Good luck, Ben Carson. That was a big scandal that they pulled that dirty trick. This is a giant dirty trick saying that Trump's going to be out of the race.
These are straw men that they float. They hope. Remember Karl Rove's whole idea of how to run a campaign. You throw it against the wall, even though it's untrue, but you see what sticks. And that's the game they're playing here. We know that Karl Rove is providing backdoor consultation of Hillary Clinton's campaign. This is vintage Karl Rove. floating these red herrings, these trial balloons, these straw men.
I agree. And isn't that the word that was probably Rove also advising Cruz with that whole Carson stunt?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Rove, Rove, we know he still has his operation out of Austin, Texas, where you're at, but he also is involved in many of these campaigns behind the scenes. And I think when Trump recently worried about the election being rigged, he knows what happened, what Rove did in 2000, and especially in 2004 in Ohio. It's not just people voting more than once, 10 times.
That's right. Ohio was certified to be a fraud. This is bipartisan.
Absolutely. It's who counts the votes. Remember what Stalin said? It doesn't matter who votes. But he said what really matters is who counts the votes.
But it's historic, correct me if you disagree, but most experts agree, in fact, all of them, that a landslide's hard to beat, and that if Trump makes a big issue about it, it puts sunshine on it. And that's why I think Hillary's campaign chief said, quote, what Trump's doing is dangerous.
Right. Whether Trump wins or loses, the mere fact he talked about rigged elections, which has always been a bête noire, Washington, they don't want to talk about it because both parties have people in office as a result of election fraud. He's raised that issue, and whether he wins or loses, I think that issue is going to be around, and that's what the people don't like.
Sure.
The upper echelon.
Doesn't that just add to his bona fides that he's bringing up issues like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it. It's like he's done more to advance the old story about JFK's assassination than anybody has in the past, say, 25 to 30 years.
Yeah, no, Trump's a godsend. I mean, everything he's done is expose the establishment. Everything he's done is expose globalism. Everything he's done has been an absolute godsend. That's why they hate him.
Right. That's correct. And I think, like I say, he's provided a good service, at least in bringing issues to the fore. Yeah,
folks know in the last year and a half, I've been kind of, supporting Trump, but, watching closely. But I got to say now, I'm 100% in. This guy's 100% for real. That doesn't mean he's perfect. None of us are. But this guy is Americana. He doesn't like seeing America be destroyed. He's committed his life to it. We better get behind him. Wayne Madsen, stay there, my friend. DrudgeReport.com is linked to our story. We're going to keep putting these out with more intel and a bunch of highly produced video reports coming up soon that are basically like ads. Ads for free speech, ads for the First Amendment, not even for the election, that just show the election fraud, the history of it, how it works, what Hillary's done, and how to counter it, and then also show how they're lying about Donald Trump. But here's the story. It's up on Infowars.com that deals with all of that, one we were showing during the last segment, if we can, guys, so that people can go there. Desperate mainstream media pushes Trump dropping out conspiracy theory. Dishonest media clicking its heel 3 times to make Trump go away. And then we've also are going to post some of the video reports in there that deal with this. But this is just like the Ben Carson situation where they just announced he's given up. But back then it was a big deal. This is the whole media doing it, not just Cruz. So they kind of all commit the crime against free speech, the crime against truth, and then just hope that no one group gets the blame. This is in unison. Talking points as the WikiLeaks show directly from Hillary Clinton. I mean, talk about dishonor. I am shocked that even mainstream media is this unified in dirtbaggery. Speaking of that, I want to get Wayne Madsen's take on it as he counters these folks. But here, speaking of dirtbags, here is Obama saying yesterday that, listen, if you're anti-government, how about anti-corrupt government? Get out of here. You didn't build the country. You didn't save General Motors and all this stuff, which was another scam. Here it is.
I always tell people who are anti-government in the United States, try going to a country where the government doesn't work. And you'll see that you actually want a good government. It's a useful thing to have. But it's not enough on its own if you also don't have then the ability of people in the private sector to...
Like the economic collapse of Venezuela is so bad that people are slaughtering and eating zoo animals. That's up on Infowars.com from Michael Snyder. This implication that government made all this instead of innovation and lower taxes, Wayne, it's really getting crazy. You want to tackle that first or the earlier point I was making?
Well, I think the media is being absolutely horrible in covering Trump by pushing forth. They're the first ones that start talking about conspiracy theories. And and how terrible they are. And then they are pushing a conspiracy theory. Now, there was a story out of New York yesterday that's got no play on the national media. Apparently, a retired law enforcement officer was arrested trying to sneak into Trump Tower just before Trump returned from a campaign tour in Florida. He had a weapon on him. And that basically the New York Daily News, which hates Trump, said, oh, it was no big thing. The guy was drunk. You know, so, you know, where is the mainstream on issues like that? Clearly, a lot of people feel that with the enemies he's creating, Trump may be in some sort of physical danger.
Oh, that's my next question. We know they're coming after him physically now. I mean, the panic level we're seeing.
Right. I mean, look, you know, Jeb Bush, he feels like this thing was taken from him like, you know, you take candy from a baby. You know, he was supposed to be the third Bush, and we know what the Bushes anyway are capable of. Now, there was one report that the person arrested at a Trump Tower was using the fake identity of an FBI agent who was killed in the line of duty in 2007 in a bank robbery situation in central New Jersey. And his last name, ironically, Bush.
Oh, my gosh. Just like John Hinckley Jr. What do you think of him being released after 35 years for supposedly shooting Reagan? Is that a message?
Yeah, just in time for the campaign. I remember when Arthur Herman Bremer, I believe, was released during the 2012 campaign. And I said, oh, yeah, the guy who shot George Wallace during the campaign in 72 is now running free. So, you know, I guess that's what happens. They release.
I think they release him right in the thick of every big campaign as a little message. Hey, we got these guys. Back in 70 seconds with the third hour, I want to ask you then, what do you expect them to throw at Trump next? Wayne Madsen's our guest. WayneMadsenReport.com, Alex Jones, Infowars.com. Stay with us. Wayne Madsen's our guest for another 5 minutes. Then, I should have plugged this earlier, this guy's a wild man, a superstar, the founder of Vice till they went sideways. Gavin McInnes, CompoundMedia.com. He's going to be joining us to talk about all this. We'll take phone calls. I got a special report Paul Watson did on Hillary really acting like she's a mental patient. And again, folks, you know, I don't just hype something because it sounds like something fun to hype. There's always enough real stuff to go with. Hillary's acting so freakazoid just when I normally see her. She's either all enraged looking or she looks like she's on drugs. And then she does these weird things where she just goes, and people are like, are you okay? Or like the balloon, she's like a little baby going, oh, you're a smart guy, Wayne Madsen. What do you think's going on with Hillary?
Well, look, we still don't know what happened when she had that episode with a brain issue, apparently as a result of a fall when she was Secretary of State. Even her husband said it was Bill Clinton said it was more serious than what had been reported. So, again, usually medical issues are off limits during campaigns. But as we know from the 72 campaign, when McGovern had to drop Senator Tom Eagleton off the ticket as vice president, yes, medical issues are a very cogent issue during a presidential campaign because whether it's president or vice president, this is the person that's going to be in charge of the country or potentially in charge of the country, and their medical condition should be at issue. And
well, sure, but I mean, normal people don't start doing these weird tics. I mean, this is stuff I see like homeless folks that are schizophrenic on the side of the road.
Yeah, and even after that episode, Hillary was wearing some special glasses, which are for people who have trouble keeping their balance after some sort of episodic event dealing with the brain. So
you're leaning towards stroke.
I would say stroke or an aneurysm that they caught before it was fatal. But there's obviously, and it could be, as you suggest, prescription medication she's on. Yeah, I think there should be questions asked about her physical condition.
What about Bill Clinton? I mean, when I say he looks like a corpse, when I say he looks like a zombo, I mean, he could be in a movie as a zombie now.
Well, you know, he's had heart surgery too. And you know, we know he was a major user of cocaine in his younger days. And I think all that catches up with you after a while. Look at some of these aging rock stars. And they can't even pronounce two words together later on in life.
Well, sure, the word is he's on coke until just a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And look, we're not just picking on Democrats. We know that George W. Bush had an affectation for the white powder as well. And
Nixon took a lot of pills.
Yeah, Nixon was a drunkard and a pill popper especially towards the end. But you know, it's fair game for anyone, Republican or Democrat. Their medical. Of course, the media is not touching it because they're
sure. We got 1 minute left, Wayne Madsen. What else do you expect them to go after Trump with? Because it's gotten crazy.
I think his wife is the one they're going after now, Melania. There's suggestions being floated that she was working in the United States illegally when she was a model, and now there's some suggestions, and this bears all the markings of a Karl Rove, that she was some sort of an escort at one time. None of this, of course, is provable, but remember the Rove paradigm. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Well, plus, it's all off limits because Trump doesn't make a big issue out of all that stuff.
Right. You know, and I mean, we know everything there is to know about Trump's personal life. He used to be on the cover of People magazine in the 1980s. Ad nauseum, ad infinitum. It was always a Trump story. Studio 54 or whatever it was, you know. So there's not much more there.
Absolutely. Well, she's a beautiful woman. I guess that's her only crime with a lot of these so-called feminists who just really want to run women's lives and boss women around and are really a cretinous group of people. Wayne Madsen, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
You bet, Alex.
Gavin McGinnis, straight up.
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.
I don't want that man to have a gun.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
The Alex Jones Show. Watch the free stream live at Infowars.com/show.
We have ended the big mega sale, the biggest in our history. Now, we have kept 3 items, though, this week. That's Brain Force, While Supplies Last, the amazing nootropic, for $17.76, normally $29. Leading competitors that have similar formulas are $60 to $70 to $80. So we're already a great deal at that price. It has some ingredients that are controlled or prescription in Europe. That's how powerful it is. Read about it for yourself at InfoWarsLife.com. That's 40% off. DNA Force, our flagship product. It's a big deal to offer 30% off on that. We're extending that. And then Vitamin Mineral Fusion. All the vitamins, all the minerals, the amino acids, the cofactors to help upload it. Great tasting fruit punch. Organically flavored. There's nothing else out there it's like it. It's amazing. It's plant-derived minerals. InfoWarsLife.com. That's 30% off. But I'm going to go further. Boom, here it is. Normally you sign up for auto ship, you get 10% off. You still get that on top of it. I'm doing free shipping on everything. Whether it's one Hillary for Prison shirt or a Bill Clinton rape shirt or whatever it is, whatever informational warfare weapon you want to help spread the word and meet like-minded people, free shipping store-wide. Free shipping store-wide. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can get 40% off on Brain Force. You can get 30% off on DNA Force. I'm not going to sit here and belabor this. People should really go read and see the hundreds of studies that are there breaking down just what BioPQQ does and why this is such an amazing nutraceutical and why it's so important that folks take it daily, because the compounds in this are just amazing. I mean, you just know they're from God. But I'm not going to get into the science. Go to InfoWarsLife.com. Go there to the page for yourself, and you can check it all out at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site, and your purchases make it possible, everything we do here. So I want to thank you all for your support, your prayers, and so much more.
We're not even able to post probably half of the reviews that come in. And the reason why is because if anyone mentions a disease or they got better from a disease, the third-party review sites that we subcontract out to that monitor these reviews, if there's any mention of a disease or anything in there, it can't go up online because of the regulations with the FDA. So please feel free to call in as much as you want. We love hearing about your stories. And this is just DNA Force, but you know, the best thing that I love to do and the best thing I tell people to do is just go online, InfoWarsLife.com, and just read all the reviews.